is hard work enough? This is an incredible topic because my perspective on this has changed over the years. And we're going to jump in this today, talk about how it relates to you in the nail business right now on the Biz Talk. I'm going to try not to just put this in your face, the fact that I'm using your cup. I hope you don't mind. You do mind. Of course you mind. What a dumb question.
I hate you so much right now.
All right, Tracy, this is probably one of my favorite topics. We've talked about this off camera a ton. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday on this topic of a friend that starting a business and is struggling really, really hard. And we were basically just sort of addressing the issue of hard work, right? This person was telling me they work extremely hard. They don't understand how they got so far into debt, number one.
Ouch.
And I know, which is very painful. And that's something I can relate to completely because my family, you know, we dug ourselves in a insanely deep hole in the process of building Young Nails. I know you have experience with that through your career as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something we can both relate to and talk to it. But this idea of hard work, is it enough? And I will say that once upon a time, I believed that hard work was enough. I honestly felt like if you just keep working hard, things are going to fall into place and things are going to happen. Today, I have a much different perspective. And my short answer is absolutely not. Hard work is not enough. It's probably one of the most important pieces to the puzzle, but this is a puzzle. And it's not just one single thing that's going to make or break your career in the nail business or in any business for that fact. But let me get your take, Trace, first on how this idea, is that enough for nail technicians? Is that enough for somebody that wants to start a salon? In your perspective, is hard work enough?
Well, it's like you said, it's important, but if you're not charging the right prices, or you're paying too much in rent, or all the other factors, no, it's not enough. You have to have the business side, which we've talked about before.
Right.
But you could just work yourself to death and not make any money.
So how many times have you heard that? I know I've heard it. Probably you've heard it more than me because you have a very, solid connection with nail technicians in the industry. I always say that you have you're kind of a direct representation almost, because you can feel, nail techs and they sense that. And so they talk to you a lot. But how often have you had somebody come to you and say, I'm going to quit. I'm working insane hours and I'm not making enough money?
A lot. And usually it's not even that they're coming to me saying that. It's usually talking about pricing and breaking it down for them. They're just so focused on how much they're working, they're not looking at the total picture. So once we start breaking stuff down, what they're paying in booth rent, what are you paying in childcare, what are you paying, for your product, what are you charging? Because they get in this little competitive war with pricing too, where they're charging so little to get a client that they're not making any money. So that's usually where we start breaking that stuff down, and we're like, did you know this is actually what you're making per hour?
Yeah.
And it can be pretty devastating when you hear it.
So what do you think that piece is? Like somebody's working, okay, first of all, that quality of working extremely hard, gosh, you can't, that's an amazing quality.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people, and everybody has their own limits, but there are people that will talk about how busy they are, and I'm not just talking nail techs, I'm just talking people in general. I
right.
work so much, and they're like, oh, I work X amount per hour, and you're like, that's not a whole lot of hours, but to them it is.
Right.
But you meet someone that is really just
hardworking,
putting the hours in,
Yep.
doing whatever it takes. I mean, I always think of like Melissa. I'll call her, and she's coming home at 10:30 at night from the salon. I mean, she is just
she is a grinder to the
Machine.
core. Yeah, she's a machine.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no question. So like when you see, first of all, that quality is amazing, no question about it. But somebody that has that quality but is not finding success, like you've got to at a certain point, I feel like you have to say, like, outside of like you just went into the details, it could be this, it's you're not charging enough, it's you're doing A, B, C, D, and E. But there's one sort of overall quality that's blinding them from that. How do you like wake them up and say, like, you've got to be honest with yourself? Like, how do you crack that? That's a tough thing to do.
They have to be willing. They got to be willing to hear it, because if I have experienced this with someone that opened a salon where I was, and her place wasn't making it. And I mean, it came down to a lot of things. It was being new into the industry and opening a salon, even down to the name of the salon.
Right.
I tried to give her advice on quite a few things, and she just wasn't willing to hear it until her doors closed.
You just got to go with Habib Salon is the ultimate. I mean, I know that was.
If you don't want anyone to come, name it that. It's brilliant. But she wasn't willing.
Yeah.
Whereas there's been others who are open. When they come in and ask for your opinion, they're open
Yeah.
to listening, and you can't force someone to be willing.
So that to me is super interesting, is this idea of like being open-minded and being willing to accept failure, and to sort of like these mini failures, right? I'm not talking about like your whole business just went down the tube and what happened. I'm talking about mini micro failures, to be able to look at them objectively.
Yep.
Not take it personally.
It's hard.
That's
hard. I take
know.
it personally, but
Right, but this is the thing. Like, those micro failures, be it you're not charging enough money, so you're overworking and spinning your wheels, or maybe you're charging $900 a set and like not a single person showing up at your door, right?
Nobody. You're like, I just need one.
I just need one set of nails.
One set. I'm good for the week.
I'm good for the week. Like, whatever that is, like, those are the two extremes, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to find that balance somewhere.
You've got to look. I mean, ultimately, the market is the judge and jury, and this is what I love about business, is that, like, the market's going to tell you ultimately what's working and what's not working. So if you're in a salon or nail tech and business is not happening, it, like, the simple answer, and I'm talking about like after you put some time into it.
Which I was
Right.
just thinking that. I'm like,
Yeah.
everything takes time.
Of
So
course.
don't get confused with the stepping stones with it not working completely.
That's right. It's a great point. And so, like, after time, it's things aren't working. You got to make some changes. You know what I mean? And I think that all starts with, you've got to be truly open-minded to the information. You have to be objective. And there's a lot of talk right now in business about this idea of self-awareness. I hear it constantly everywhere. A lot of like these big motivational gurus are talking about self-awareness. And even though like the word can make me cringe a little bit, there is so much truth behind it, because it's the ability to like look at yourself, know and understand yourself, know who you are, know your strengths and weaknesses, and build around that.
Right.
And in order to build a successful career in the nail industry, in any industry really, but we're talking nails, you've got to be able to do that and not take it personally. Let me correct that. Not take it personally long term. Okay, I think it's impossible to not get like a little sting from a failure, right?
Yeah, I do.
But you gotta get over it quick.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
it's take it personally, but are you going to move on?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to stay there because
Right.
And I think that a lot of people will sometimes they're more comfortable with what they know than the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though it's not working, they're so paralyzed to make that change.
Yeah. And this is, I just spoke to somebody about this morning on the phone. This is a new person that we're going to be working with in our company, and we were talking about failure. Actually, this topic came up.
You're talking about me?
I was exactly talking about you. How
Knew
did
it.
you know?
I could sense it.
Your senses are very good. But we were talking about this idea of failure and like how what so many people don't realize or understand is that it is actually part of the process. Like you're supposed to do that. It's just part of it.
No one succeeds.
No. On the
Every
first
time.
shot, it's impossible. This is good information. Like you get the good info from these failures and it's like, oh, I got it. So if you can look at it in that way, tweak your perspective, look at these micro failures as like, they're just like miniature lessons. Like instead of going to business school, you're going to fail.
Experiments.
Yeah,
They're like
experiments. That's a great way to put it. They're these
experimenting
minis.
to see what works.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. You're talking to someone who is very successful this morning, right? And
Yes.
they're telling you to do these things, and then step back in a month and take a look to see if it works,
That's correct.
which is kind of shocking because you're like, well, I thought you were just going to tell me everything that worked.
Yeah.
But it's all experimenting.
It is from the smallest of companies to the largest of companies. This concept of testing and learning is vital. So you can't like start your business and work hard, get set in your ways, not tweak, not change, not test and learn. You're always testing and learning. That's how you grow your business. So
Well, and that's true in the fact that if you get successful, sometimes we do that. We have success with what we're doing, and then things change.
right.
You got to keep experimenting, right? You're like, no, that worked for me 10 years ago. It's
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
That model is how you do it. Might not be the way to do it anymore.
Well, it's exactly what I'm talking about even with this topic today, from starting a business to experienced businesses like us that have been around for 25 years. It doesn't matter. It's all about being aware, self-aware. If I'm not aware of my business and if I'm not objective about my business, then I'll get caught up in the stability of like, hey, we're doing X amount of dollars in revenue per year. We've got a great customer base. I'm solid. I can just kind of peace out and check out. No.
It changes.
Got it. Everything changes. The whole market changes.
And if you did that, you would start tanking. I mean,
We
it's
would
not
start
like
tanking.
you can't say, well, I'm comfortable in this area. I'm going to just stay here, because it does change.
everything changes. Just go back into history of business and you can see how everything is changing, especially today with technology. We are going through probably one of the biggest technology revolutions ever. And so I think 30 years from now, you're going to look back and go, whoa, that was incredible. So things are always changing. And even so from experienced business to you're just getting started, the key is hard work is not enough. You absolutely 100% have to be objective. You have to be self-aware, and you got to be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Check in your progress. Go through this process of testing and learning. And I think with that process, you're going to start to see different types of results. And with that, say thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you next week on the Biz Talk.